Hi everyone, welcome to another video of CUTV. And today we start with the first episode of a new series called Breaking Taboos, where we talk about those unconventional topics and talk about things which are not generally acceptable in the society, or people don't generally talk about it, which has actually led to a lot of misinformation and people not being educated around the same. And has definitely been impacting females when it comes to menopause. And today I have Jane Woodman from the menopause team to talk us through what menopause is, what are the roles of different genders, how do different genders operate when it comes to menopause and everything. So, Jane, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. And thank you very much for asking me to come along.
No, it's our pleasure. So, could you tell us a little more about what the menopause team does?
So the menopause team tries to raise awareness for people, regardless of age, regardless of gender, in relation to the menopause. And so we do that for individuals, but we also go into organizations and help organizations understand the impact.
So how do you function with these? Like what does your collaborations with these organizations look like?
So often human resource departments will contact us.
Right.
Sometimes trade unions will contact us, and
Mm-hmm.
they will contact us maybe to do presentations,
Mm-hmm.
maybe to offer some coaching, maybe to offer yoga, perhaps mindfulness.
Right.
So menopause cafes,
Right.
where people gather and talk about the menopause. Sometimes they ask us to write menopause policies. So lots of different ways to really help promote awareness of the menopause.
Basically start by, because tell our viewers what menopause is, what are the symptoms, just like in simple terms, what is it exactly?
Okay, so
Yeah.
the menopause principally is about hormones.
Okay.
So generally for women in midlife, estrogen starts to deplete.
Hmm.
And estrogen attaches itself to cells all over the body. And that's how we function normally.
Hmm.
So when we start to lose that estrogen, then things can start to go a bit wrong. And so we need to address that situation. But it's not the only hormone. So there are issues around progesterone, and women also rely on testosterone, and we lose our testosterone. 50% of it. So we don't lose all of it, but we lose a significant amount. That is seen as a male hormone, but actually, as women to function, we need that as well. But there are also issues around testosterone because women find it very difficult to get hold of it. It's not available for women on the NHS. I'm not sure if you're aware of the MP Carolyn Harris. So she is the MP for Swansea East.
Okay.
She brought a bill through Parliament on the 29th of October, and that was the Menopause Support and Services Bill.
Right.
But she has got the Menopause Revolution, and part of that revolution is campaigning to get testosterone for those women that need it.
Wow.
So there are also other parts to her revolution, which we can talk about, like menopause education for pupils at schools. And
Go on.
another focus of hers is GPs, because 41% of GPs qualify and don't have any menopause training at all. Yes.
What would you suggest to any female, or what would you suggest to, her partner or even her children? How, firstly, what should she do and how should she identify that she's nearing menopause, and how should she deal with the symptoms?
It's going to happen to all of us in midlife.
Oh,
So if we can be prepared, then
right.
it doesn't have to be an issue.
Okay.
So 1 in every 100 women will experience menopause before the age of 40. 1 in 20 will experience it between the age of 40 and 44. So,
Okay.
but for the majority, it's from 45 to say 55. We know it's going to happen to us. So therefore, around the age of 40, perhaps we start to research, and there are areas that you can go, or websites that have got evidence-based research.
Right.
So the British Menopause Society,
Mm-hmm.
the right-hand side of that website screen, click there, it's the patient area, loads of information.
Right.
Then there's a specialist called
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Louise Newsome.
Yeah.
So she is the foremost menopause specialist in the UK,
Okay.
government advisor. She's got a brilliant website. So, for example, when this happened to me,
Right.
I didn't know.
Okay.
So one of the ways that it manifested itself was that I suddenly stopped feeling comfortable driving on motorways. So I lost my spatial awareness. I couldn't overtake lorries. I didn't want to cross bridges. So life-limiting, ridiculous behavior. But now I realized that that was increased anxiety due to perimenopause. But it's not just ladies.
Right.
So trans men, intersex, non-binary people, they could experience a menopause. So the first person that I encountered who was transitioning from female to male, they experienced menopause when they were 17.
Wow. And how was that like?
It was terrible because they didn't know that that was part of the transition.
Right.
And then I've also met somebody who had a natural menopause, female, and she started that when she was 14. So again, she didn't know what was happening to her, but the GPs had a lack of knowledge as well.
But why did it come like so early? Is there any medical reason around it, or is there
just that it seems 1 in every 100 will experience it before 40, and there doesn't really seem to be an explanation. So we really need to get that message out there, you know, that they're not mad, they don't need to struggle. There are solutions. And the solutions can be about replacing hormones, and that's called hormone replacement therapy. And that's principally about estrogen.
Okay.
That's had a very bad press, particularly in the UK, for the last 20 years.
Okay.
Because a report was published which had incorrect data, and it linked it quite significantly to cancer. That's not the case. If we think of cancer in midlife, for example, I think it's around 24 people out of every 1,000 women in midlife will get breast cancer.
Okay.
If you take HRT, 27 women will get breast cancer. So there is a tiny increased risk.
Right.
But other lifestyle issues compound the risk and make it worse. So your diet, your exercise. So HRT can be a solution.
How do you start changing your lifestyle? Or is there something you have to keep in mind even when you're menstruating, that, you know, just to prepare your body for that? Like, what are the lifestyle changes that a female should do or should prepare for?
So certainly to consider your alcohol intake.
Okay.
So menopause and alcohol don't go well together.
Okay.
So it's not about necessarily stopping drinking, but it is about considering when and how you're drinking. Smoking and menopause don't go well together. So that is something else in terms of lifestyle that you would need to consider.
Right.
Red meat can also be something that doesn't go well with menopause. So it's not about necessarily cutting these things out, but it is about cutting them way down. So diet in general.
Yeah.
So for example, chickpeas are marvelous. So if you can eat a lot of chickpeas, a lot of hummus, tagines, then they seem to have really great properties that will help menopause. So we can look at other countries perhaps. You know, if we think of Japan, women don't seem to suffer the menopause symptoms that we suffer here, and that's potentially because of their high soya intake. How we look after ourselves is really important, and that platform of midlife, to be then going into our 50s, 60s and beyond, if we've been looking after ourselves, then really we can cope with this much better.
Makes sense completely. In countries where, like, I come from India, where we have hardly any campaigns, or forget campaigns, you hardly any people talking about it.
There's a great program on Netflix called Bombay Begums.
Yes, I've seen that.
And that lady, the main character, is menopausal, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, and it's
So, and
that
she
that.
mentions it as well. So I thought that was really positive TV.
So,
Yeah.
how do you think should like women from these developing countries, not just India, but there's so many countries, third world countries, how should they function, and how should they start creating awareness around menopause? What should be their first step?
So just as a really basic level,
Yeah.
there's an organization called Positivity,
Okay.
and they have translated awareness posters
Mm-hmm.
into Urdu and various other languages.
Right.
And I believe they're a charity, and they could be contacted maybe to translate these awareness posters into other languages as well. So I think that's really positive, and they are free and they are downloadable from the internet. There's lots that we can do together.
Yeah.
And help each other, I think. And the most significant thing is like this, is to talk about it.
Personal survey conducted with my sister where we asked people about, do you even know what menopause is? How often do you hear this term? And I wasn't surprised by the results, because hardly, like, less than 40% of the people, especially less than 40% of the females that heard about it, forget about talking. So, how do you break those barriers? What should be the steps into breaking those barriers to even like ask them to come out and even talk about what they're feeling? Because
So
it's
I
not.
think you need role models. So I mentioned Carolyn Harris, the
Right.
MP.
Right.
She's prepared to talk about it.
Okay.
So have you seen the documentary by Davina McCall?
No.
Okay, so that's on Channel 4. So
Right.
suddenly she's talking about the menopause. So you get to think, oh, if Davina's talking about it, I can talk about it. If Carolyn Harris, as a member of Parliament, is talking about it, I can talk about it. The other thing in the UK at the moment, you might be aware of Sophie, the Countess of Wessex.
Yeah,
So she's married to one of the princes. She's talking about it. She's got a workplace pledge whereby organizations can sign up to commit to engaging with the menopause. So just those three examples, they cover quite a broad cross-section of society. I was running a session this morning whereby the focus was men coming to get more understanding. And we could say, oh, that's a bit sexist. We don't want to be doing men-only sessions. But actually, maybe that's where they feel comfortable. They feel comfortable asking questions to me when they don't necessarily then have to feel embarrassed in front of their perhaps work colleagues or partner. And that has been working really well. And I'm really encouraged by the questions that they're asking and their interest.
Right.
So we have been, as women, very silent about it, but actually I think it is well received when we do talk about it.
It definitely is, yeah. So like, as you talked about your session, how do you think and what do you think is the role of the other gender, be it like a son, a father, or a partner, a male partner? What is the role in men? What is their role in supporting? How do they support? How, to what extent should they be educated around it? And
I think it's huge. And so just to go back a bit from that, Carolyn Harris, the MP, and I went to the Green Man Festival in the summer. So it's a music festival, but we got on a stage and talked about menopause.
Wow.
And the audience was mixed, and we were really thrilled with the people that came up to us afterwards. But what we were surprised at is 20-year-old boys were coming up to us asking and worried about their mums. And some followed that up by email asking for more information. Right. So there's definitely that need to understand. So in terms of what men can do, they can then become educated themselves. And I think that's positive, because this can cause problems at home. One of the things that happens around particularly perimenopause is increased stress. So there can be tensions at home. You know, maybe you don't want your children to go out so much because you're worried that something terrible is going to happen to them. Or maybe you're a bit depressed and therefore you're not nice to be around. So if they understand the menopause, then they could cut you some slack and think, oh, I know my mum's experiencing this, and before she gets her treatments, then maybe this is how it's going to be for a little while. Because as well, we said 41% of GPs have no training. So sometimes when you seek solutions, the GP will then deny them. So you think, oh, I must be going a bit mad here if my GP won't give me what I need. So you do need the male people in your life to be supporting you, perhaps at the doctor's surgery with you, or at least believing you.
So do all women go through the same, do all women have same symptoms?
No.
Do all go through the same thing?
No. So really, when we think about menopause, we think about something called hot flushes.
Yeah.
But probably not all women, maybe only 50% of women experience hot flushes.
Yeah.
So there are so many other symptoms, from brittle nails, where your nails all snap, to problems with hearing, osteoporosis, bone, it can cause bone problems, dental health.
Oh my God.
If you know any dentists in university, or trainee dentists, actually, this is worse. 41% of GPs, no training.
Right.
Dentists, no idea that menopause can affect medical health. In fact, only 7% of dentists will make the link. So here they are, and you could have 7 to 10 of these at any one time. But yeah, here you have 34 of them. Some people would say there are as many as 66 symptoms. So electric shocks, you get more electric shocks when you're in midlife. And a lady I had at a session recently had called an electrician to the house because she thought there was something wrong with the electrics. But actually, it's just a natural thing to get more electric shocks.
Oh my.
I can show you something that happened to me.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So this is me. My cat allergy became out of control.
Yeah.
I didn't know that this could happen during perimenopause. So I spent 4 years in a bit of a state trying to find the answers. So this is what women experience. So it's about estrogen, and then estrogen, we lose it. And then we go through the 3 stages. So perimenopause is significant because it's the first stage.
Yeah. I think it's the most disturbing stage, because by the time you reach menopause, you kind of have thinking of what's happening. Perimenopause, because I've seen my mom go through it, and we used to sometimes get scared because we didn't know what was happening. And by the time she ended her perimenopause, we kind of everybody knew, okay, now we know what's happening. So, what are the possible symptoms to deal with? Possible ways to deal with this.
Okay, so you could engage, as I said, in HRT, hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
And that requires research, because that's a decision you should make or not. So, but it should be then on the basis of evidence-based information. So that's a good solution for many, many people. But maybe you don't want to do that. And so maybe you could do it through diet and exercise.
Right.
Maybe you could do it through herbal remedies.
Right.
There are Eastern remedies that can offer some solutions.
Right.
Supplements.
Okay.
So there are many ways of managing it that really are about your own choices.
Right. Okay. And what kind of different complications do women go through? Because depending on everybody's lifestyle and, we have so many thoughts in our brain as well. So what are the different complications that women go through when perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause?
Well, if you don't deal with it,
Right.
So for some women, then the bone issues become a real problem and you get osteoporosis.
Hmm.
So HRT in particular protects you against osteoporosis.
Okay.
Cancers in midlife, again, HRT can protect you against some of those cancers. It protects against heart disease.
Right.
And there is research going on that would say it also can help you against dementia.
Right.
So these are the issues for women in midlife and going forward that we really need to be aware of. We also need to understand other health matters. So this is why we need a GP that really understands women in midlife, because maybe you also have iron deficiencies. Maybe you have thyroid problems.
Yeah.
So you need to be looking at those areas as well. And then if you can rule out other health issues, then you can really start to deal with the menopause in a positive way.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. And do you think as a community we could help women by, having small support groups where women talk to each other? Because when you relate to someone, it feels like, okay, I'm being understood. So are there more ways, or how should, even like as a university student, how should I contribute in conducting such support groups?
Yes. So I wonder then, has Cardiff University got a menopause cafe?
No, I'm not. None that I'm aware of.
So there's a charity called the Menopause Cafe Charity.
Okay.
And if you contacted them, they would give you a resource pack, which would then help you set up a really great menopause cafe.
Okay.
And there you could ask women, students of your own age, academics to come along and discuss their experience. Because if you had older women discussing their experience, that could help you in the future. And that could happen once a month. And Cardiff University, I think, has got great resources. So you could ask somebody from the dental department to come and talk about women's dental health in midlife. You could ask somebody from dietetics to come along and talk about diet.
But yeah, that was, I think, all. And I think it was such a wonderful chat that I had with you. I learned so many new things today, because as I'm learning more about this topic, I'm understanding that it's not just, this is not supposed to be a taboo. It's supposed to be talked about. It requires us to talk about it rather than staying silent. It does.
It's dangerous to be a taboo.
Exactly. It actually
because, do you know, 1 in 10 women leave work in midlife.
Yeah.
So you think of that. I mean, you're in university, you've got a glittering career ahead of you, I'm sure.
I know.
That you do not want to end in your late 40s, early 50s.
Definitely not.
But for 1 in 10 women, currently it is. Over 1 million women have left work in the UK because of this. God. That has an impact economically for sure. But also psychologically, who wants to give up because they haven't got the support, they don't understand what's happening to them? So for women's lives going forward, we need to ensure that this is not a stumbling block, this is not a barrier. Knowledge is power, and if we can give women that power, then I think, it's, to be honest, it's the route to equality.
That's true,
because at midlife, I think you've got the most experience and you want to be going for promotions and new jobs. And so to have that taken away from you really removes then a huge amount of women and stops inclusivity and equality.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and speaking to me about this.
Pleasure.
And it was really, really wonderful to, learn something from you today.